Evgeny Dmitrievich Kudryavtsev was a gynecologist from God, had an impeccable appearance, and his appearance confused patients who dreamed of getting to him for an appointment as a well-known luminary in the city, and were embarrassed, blushing to the tips of their ears. In the clinic, he was respected for his tact, exceptional politeness in his treatment, and for the appearance of a handsome man. Unmarried colleagues openly looked at Kudryavtsev, but he, in response to radiant smiles, only honored them with courteous attention and correct conversations relating exclusively to work. His personal life was kept secret from everyone. It was known, however, that he was not married, but the details, divorced or single from a young age, were unknown. And, as the head of the personnel department, Emma Sergeevna, put it, he was not noticed in the connections discrediting him. Kudryavtsev himself had no idea what passions were raging around his person. More than 5 years ago, while living in Moscow, he buried his wife. I still couldn't forgive myself for that. A doctor, but he overlooked the illness of the only woman he loved. She hid from him both her ill health and her suspicions. And when everything was revealed, it was too late. It was not possible to save the young woman. After such a blow, Evgeny Dmitrievich left the capital and moved to a beautiful town on the Volga. He bought himself a good house on the very bank of the river, among poplars and birches. And I have never regretted my radical changes in my life. Only the pain after the loss of his wife did not let go, and the feeling of guilt pressed with its hopelessness. The capital no longer beckoned him with its lights, and he succeeded more here, in this corner of paradise, than in the noisy bustle and race for recognition in the capital. Today there was a regular reception, scheduled almost by the minute. The patient cards stood like a tangible pile on the edge of the table and promised a busy day. Kudryavtsev was not embarrassed by this. He was used to the influx, but one of the visits was not quite ordinary, and he was a little worried. A very young woman, about 20 years old, and looking no more than 17, entered the office with a timid gait. Frightened eyes, a fragile figure. His colleague Olga Matvienko asked him to accept her, saying at the same time that she was a neighbor girl from a very strict family. "This is a difficult case, Evgeny Dmitrievich," she spoke softly. "Parents are overly strict, and the girl is pregnant. They live with her from the light if she leaves this child. Help me, I'm asking you very much. All the tests are ready." The conversation with this lost lamb was not going to be easy. Kudryavtsev was an ardent opponent of getting rid of children, and fought with women to the last to save the child. He often won this fight. But this is a completely different case. Nastya sat on the edge of the chair opposite, and blushing and turning pale, reported her problem. Kudryavtsev listened to her in silence, and after the examination, a perfectly healthy young woman, whom Providence gifted from above with the happiness of motherhood. He already foresaw with his professional instinct how healthy this baby would be born, and his whole being rebelled against this interference in the newly born life. He carefully looked through her tests and pointedly stated, "In no case should you terminate your pregnancy. It may be the first and last in your life." Am I going to die?" Nastya asked with horror and tears in her eyes. "You are not, but the child is. He will be deprived of the opportunity to be born and simply thrown away. And then it's not a fact that you will be able to find such happiness again. You absolutely cannot do this. You have a negative or factor. And then Nastya burst into tears. Kudryavtsev's soul stirred, either pity or sympathy for her. He took his hands away from her face and looked into the bottomless eyes full of despair, and he wanted to calm her at all costs and save her from a reckless act. And also from that cruel world, from the people who made her so unhappy. These are both parents who are able to live with their own daughter, and the scoundrel who took advantage of her credulity. Tell me, Nastya, who is he, the father of your child? Share it with me. He asked as delicately as possible. My neighbor, his wife works here for you. She helped me sign up for you. Help me, doctor, I beg you very much. From what he heard, Yevgeny Dmitrievitch felt uneasy. You know what? Unfortunately, our time is up. Other patients are waiting for me. Come back tomorrow, and we'll discuss everything again. So will you help me, doctor? Nastya asked with timid hope in her voice. I will try to do my best, the doctor replied as gently as possible. Somehow Kudryavtsev brought the reception of patients and invited Olga Matvienko to him, deciding to get to the truth. Either you tell me everything as it is, or I will inform Nastya's parents about everything and force them to go to court. The woman turned pale, mournfully sat down on a chair, and told about her dissolute husband and his constant infidelities. That day he met Nastya at the entrance and asked for help. I don't know what, don't ask. The girl agreed. And this scoundrel? I came home from work early and found this ugly scene at the very end. And she fought him off, tried to scream. It's hard for me to talk about this, Evgeny Dmitrievitch. And you put up with all this? Not anymore. After this incident, I left him, filed for divorce. I offered Nastya to go to court to bring this scoundrel to justice. But she doesn't want to. She's afraid of embarrassing her parents, and he's already gone. The bastard has gone somewhere. It was obvious how ashamed she was to talk about it. But this cannot be left like this. How many young girls has he ruined their lives, have you ever wondered? Kudryavtsev was indignant. I was thinking, what should I do? I'm not going to look for him. Having plucked up the courage, Kudryavtsev found the phone number of Nastya's parents and invited them to a conversation that evening. A decent couple, intelligent people, very surprised and not understanding the purpose of the meeting. I had to explain everything subtly, delicately, so as not to offend their daughter, who is not to blame for anything. His parents were horrified, but most importantly, they took his side. It is impossible to cripple the life and health of their daughter. Let the baby be born, and this monster must be punished. So they are not monsters, normal, understanding people. It was not difficult to find this Matvienko and bring him to justice. His ex-wife was the main witness at the trial. Even the lawyer was opposed to his client, and he suffered a severe but fair punishment. And Nastya had a wonderful baby girl, Zheneka. Kudryavtsev watched her all the time. He rejoiced at the wonderful development of the unborn child, and himself, together with his parents, met his ward from the maternity hospital. And it was, perhaps, the biggest victory in his practice of all that he had ever won. The victory in the struggle for human life, which to some extent compensated for his huge loss, made it possible to come to terms with it. No, he didn't marry Nastya. The age difference is too big. But he became the best friend of their family, and rightfully the godfather of his namesake.